Welcome to the No Name Music Cast. To follow us on Instagram, go to No Name Music Cast Podcast. To send us an email, it's nonamemusiccast@gmail.com. And to visit our website, go to nonamemusiccast.com. Now, on with the show. Hello and welcome, everybody. Welcome to the No Name Music Cast. My name's Tim, and this is
Joy. And
here we are, back recording, back on a Tuesday night. Now, we've recorded on every which night of the week, I think. But, Tuesday now, big recording night for us, at least this week.
I don't think it matters anymore. It started out, we were very consistently on Wednesdays, and then I don't even know the last time we actually recorded on a Wednesday.
No, I can't even remember at this point.
I guess it doesn't matter. Anyway, Tim, how would you like to start the episode with your music news?
Okay, so this is more of a music review than music news.
Okay, fair enough.
So last week, I went to Bristol, Tennessee. Well, Bristol, Virginia, actually. It's on the border of Tennessee and Virginia. And on the Virginia side, they have a Hard Rock casino, hotel, and Hard Rock live music venue. And I've been to this Hard Rock before because, I like going to Hard Rocks. I actually have a Hard Rock cafe there, which I've eaten in because I could add to my extensive list of Hard Rock cafes. But I was very excited because a number of months prior to this, I had bought tickets to see David Lee Roth.
I mean, that's a very exciting thing.
Yeah, so I was very excited to see him because he rarely performs anymore. He's getting older, as a lot of our rock stars are. But also David Lee Roth, famously the singer in Van Halen, but he's not known to be a good live singer. But yeah. I wanted to go along and experience Diamond Dave up close and just see Diamond Dave while I can, because I don't think he's probably ever going to tour again, if I'm going to be honest. And this tour was announced at very short notice. So we went along. It's a really nice venue. If you're in Bristol, Virginia, and just want to go to the hotel or the casino or even to go to the Hard Rock, it's a super nice facility. It's almost brand new. And we stayed overnight, and the room was absolutely fantastic. The room was nice. The facility is nice. The Hard Rock live venue, everything about it is great. And I will say to you, if you get an opportunity to go to see a gig in a casino hotel that you're staying in, it's fabulous. You get there, you check in, you relax, you have something to eat, go back to the room, chill out for a bit. The doors opened at 7, go down in the lift about 5 to 7. Perfect. Then the gig finishes, and then you had a drink and we walked around. So shall we go up to the room? Okay, let's go up to the room. It's so much more relaxing than piling in the car immediately afterwards and then driving through traffic for 2 hours.
I always do that, especially because we and Tim live just so far away from any major concert venues.
Yeah, it's the way to do it. So anyhow, the first thing about Diamond David Lee Roth, which was very odd to me, and maybe it's because this tour was thrown together at such short notice, there was no merchandise, no T-shirts, no key rings, no stickers, no nothing.
Fair enough.
Really surprised me. I don't think I've ever been to a concert like that with a name you've ever heard of where there wasn't at least something for sale, because you have a captive audience who will buy that $65 T-shirt.
Yeah, I was going to say that also costed 74% higher than anywhere else you would buy it.
Yeah, so we went in and we had second row from the front tickets that were dead in the middle. Now, I did pay a little bit through the nose these tickets. They were $169 each, which, for 2025 concert tickets is not terribly bad, but it's still quite expensive. And the venue, I suppose, holds 3,000, 2,500, 3,000, that sort of thing.
Fair enough. Okay.
So anyway, Dave comes on fashionably late, about 20 minutes late. And his band were absolutely first class. The guitar player could play the Eddie Van Halen parts perfectly. The drums and the bass were great. The keys were great. And he had a 4-piece male backup singing crew. And they were fabulous.
Was they doing like a quartet type thing back then?
Yeah. And they really filled in the gaps where Dave is not a good singer. Like a lot of the choruses and stuff, it was the backing singers and also the bass player and the keyboard player and the guitarist all sang as well. And vocally, it really made up for Dave. Now,
That's good, though.
Yeah, one thing that was a little jarring, really, and I shouldn't have been surprised by this. So I'm 6 feet, 2 meters, if you will, away from David Lee Roth, the man, Diamond Dave, the man, California Girls, Just Like Living in Paradise, all the Van Halen songs, right there. David Lee Roth is almost 71 years old. And it was just a little jarring to see somebody you've seen in a million pop videos and a million concerts aging up that close.
I could see that. I even felt that way when I saw Elton John in concert. Because you have like this, I hate to say this, pristine idea in your mind of what they look like. And then when you see them in person, you're like, that's not what I expected.
Yeah. And also, he was not very spry. Now, I saw Van Halen perform in 2012 or 2007 and 2012. But when I last saw him in 2012, he was a lot more spry. He wasn't doing the big high kicks, but he was leaping around a bit, twirling his baton and all the kind of shenanigans that Dave...
In better shape than we are.
Yeah. But he was a lot slower on stage and a lot more, not doddery, but, certainly... He wasn't the gymnast that he was in 1984, it's fair to say.
I mean, you have to understand, I know in your mind, 1984 was 10 years ago, Tim, but realistically, it wasn't.
No, absolutely. Now, he also twirls a baton, and he's pretty good at doing it really quick, but he dropped it when he was twirling his baton,
That's
and it
awkward.
fell to the floor, and he looked at it, smiled... and picked it up. And he went up to the microphone. He said, "Ladies and gentlemen, that drop was brought to you in association with Budweiser."
I mean, fair enough. At least he played it off.
Yeah, it was funny.
I'll give it to him. He's still got humor. I mean, the thing about it is Tim doesn't want to admit that the 80s were, in fact, 30 years ago.
No, I mean...
That's something he's still fighting with at his core, so that might be something he needs to think about that later.
That's true. I mean, the other thing that was interesting about the gig is that David Lee Roth had a reasonably extensive solo career after he left Van Halen, but he only played Van Halen songs. He didn't play any of his solo material at all, which was really strange. So everything was classic Van Halen from beginning to end. And he played
Maybe
for...
he just feels like that's what people want to hear.
Yeah, played for just under 2 hours, which is probably about right. No support act. The only thing is, it was a little disappointing. It was not full. It's like a 3,500 seater venue, and it was probably 2/3 full. And looking at the other dates on the tour, certainly that it doesn't seem to be unusual.
Yeah. I mean, sorry, Tim, I didn't mean to cut you off. I apologize there. I was just going to say that I think it's probably a combination of the costs right now of just concerts mixed with our economy, mixed with him being in his 70s and maybe people knowing he's not quite that spry anymore.
Yeah, I think it's that. And I think that it will probably put people off going to going to see him, and certainly maybe put off Dave from putting on another tour. And he said like in the gig, he was introducing the band. And then after he introduced the band, he said, "Guys," he said, "look out at the audience right now. Look at the stage. Look at everyone, the crew and everything." He said, "Because when this tour is done, you guys are never going to see that again."
Fair enough. I mean, it is what it is. I'm glad you got to go, though, Tim, in all seriousness. And I'm glad they did have the backup singers. At least in some way, maybe he acknowledged where some of his lower points are now. Not to insult him or anything. I mean, aging, your vocal cords age, guys. I know this sounds crazy, but every other part of your body ages, right, Tim? Unless you're like, I don't know, somebody like Aretha Franklin, which it feels like they never aged, right?
No.
But like generally, when you get into your even your 50s, your 60s, your 70s, and no offense to David Lee Roth, but I don't think he was classically vocally trained, so I think he probably did some damage to his vocal cords at a younger age.
He was never a good singer, even at peak Van Halen. He was an average singer, but an amazing showman. That was always him. He was that's all he was.
So I'm sure that's a factor. His vocal cords probably went through the ringer.
Absolutely, but yeah, I'm glad I went to see Dave. I'm glad I saw him, and I'm glad I saw him up close. I have some amazing pictures that I took because we were so close, and I've got the iPhone 16 Pro Max with the 5x optical zoom. I have got some amazing pictures.
What a specific thing to say, Tim.
If you go on my Instagram, Timothy_O'Sullivan, I posted some of those pictures, and some of them look like pro shot, and it's just like me waving my phone in the air. The other thing I will say about Dave, and Hannah pointed this out, like when I go to a concert, when I take pictures, if I take pictures at a concert, I rarely take video because I can't be doing with that, but I like taking pictures. And what I normally do is what I call the burst technique. So I don't want to be that person constantly holding my phone up and zooming in and doing. I'm enjoying the concert, but I want to record some of it for posterity. I hold my phone up,
It's like a balancing act.
Yeah, hold it up roughly in the direction, go snap, 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 maybe take 10 or 20 in short succession, put it away. And then maybe a little bit later, I do the same. And I ended up with about 460 pictures of this concert. And then what I do is when I get home, I delete all the ones that are no good, and the ones that I think are good, I then edit them and crop them and rotate them and adjust the stuff. So I ended up with just 150 pictures, I suppose, out of that 400 I took. But I've got such good pictures. But one thing that Hannah did point out, and it was very evident when you went through the pictures, even the ones I deleted, every single picture of Dave, he has a big beaming smile on his face. And Hannah said he was exhibiting a cheerleader's grin.
What a specific thing from Hannah.
Well, like when you see cheerleaders operating and cheering, they all have that big grin on their face.
I don't mean it sarcastically. I love it. That's a great way of putting it.
Yeah.
I love it. Go. But the thing about it, okay, speaking of Hannah, we have a challenge for Hannah, by the way. I don't know if I'm gonna change the subject for 2 seconds. So I spoke with Charles tonight. But for those who don't know, our spouses are the complete opposite of me and Tim for whatever reason. And I said, Charles, you want to be actually on the podcast? Because, we did an episode where we talked about his top music, but he didn't come on. Yeah. And he gave a challenge. He said, I'll do it if Hannah does it.
Okay.
So make sure you tell Hannah that she's been challenged.
I will see what I can do. I would imagine likelihood the answer will be no, but I will ask her.
The answer from Charlie was no, and he knew that Hannah was going to say no. So he put that out there. I think this is the 2 hours of the week that they can get away from us. But anyway, when you said that, it made me think. I asked him that. He was like, well, if Hannah does it, I'll do it. So with that, Tim, you didn't have anything else you'd like to tell the people, correct?
No, I was just excited to tell you all about Diamond David Lee Roth.
Yay! All right, so I've had a weird week, as Tim knows. I've had highs and lows this week, but our episode is directly related to what happened to me this weekend. I will not go into detail about how I proceeded to stab myself in the eye, but that happened. Tim can now testify that one eye still looks a little rough. That's my witness. It looks better, though, than what I sent you yesterday, does it not, Tim?
Absolutely, 100%.
So I decided it was a good idea to scratch my cornea. Thankfully, it wasn't my retina. Retina? Is that the word, Tim?
Retina.
Retina, yes. I don't know how it became retina. Retina, because then I would have been in surgery. Thankfully, it did not have to happen to that. But 4 a.m., I was in the ER with iodine in my eye and a blue thing looking to see where the scratch was. So with that being said, I had that happened, everybody. That's not a joke. So the episode's about eyeballs.
Okay.
Specifically eyes. I may have just found a list of songs that have the words eyes in them. That's what we're going to talk about. But yeah, so that has dictated. I will tell everyone, and I mean this truly, and I have passed multiple kidney stones. I might take the kidney stone over this, Tim. Because with the kidney stone, they could put you on some good drugs and you don't feel them anymore. Your eyeball, it doesn't react to anything. I don't know how to explain it. Like, it just hurts constantly.
Yeah, and it's a constant irritation. I know what it's like when you get an eyelash in there or a piece of grit in there. It is so uncomfortable and so unpleasant.
It felt like, so at about on Sunday, this weird set of events where I may have stabbed my own self in the eye happened. I'm not going to go into detail about what happened because it's a stupid story to begin with. But anyway, I did stab my own self in the eye with something wooden. Don't do that. Don't put wooden thing near your eyes, guys. And I let it go. I had an event that I had to do for some personal stuff. Tim's aware of that. And I went through and shook all the hands and did all the stuff and took all the pictures and was as spry as I could be in the moment. I got home and I was like, oh my God, this is terrible. I was like, I just wanted to make it to the next day, Tim, to go to the regular doctor. Because if you live in America, the last thing you ever want to do is go to the ER. Can you not testify to that?
Absolutely. Even if you've got good insurance, like Joy and I have, it's still $500 or something like charged to go to the ER.
Something ridiculous. So anyway, so I was like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. Well, I spent all night tossing and turning and finally just had a breakdown. I said, take me to the hospital. So I went to the hospital. They put the dye in my eye and they're like, oh, there's a giant. They actually said, I don't remember what inch they said, but I had like a pretty large scratch, Tim. It wasn't like a little, it was like, they're like, no, you did some damage. And I was like, great. And they're like, luckily it didn't hit your retina. So retina, I can't say that word. Anyway, it doesn't matter. That other thing in your eyeball that you're not supposed to hit. And for those who don't know, the cornea covers your entire eye. It's like the protective layer.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like I think it was like 4,700 nerves in it or something. But the bigger thing is you can't shut your eyeball off, Tim. If you hurt your arm or you hurt your foot or something, you can stop using it. Guess what doesn't stop working when you try?
Your eyeball.
So anyway, so episode is about eyeballs. So that happened to me this week. Tim told me to stop doing things to make episode content, but it is what it is. I didn't do it on purpose. So with that being said, let's talk about songs that involves eyes. You'll have to think about a topic, or I guess a title for this episode for this topic, Tim. I don't know how you're going to word it, but I will leave it up to you. You're pretty good about it. The first one is pretty obvious and fits me very well because this is the color of my own eyes. Also, this is a song Tim has played a million times and never wants to hear again. This is Van Morrison's Brown Eyed Girl.
Brown Eyed Girl. It is one of those songs that every cover band ever has played, UK, US, and absolutely everywhere. A song I played with Guilty Party, a song I played with Moroccan Soul. I think we even played it with Rough Justice, and then I move over to the United States, and we play it with Whiskey River, and we play it with this, and we play it with that. It's just like it never goes away.
To be fair, though, it is taken out of Tim's, I guess, Tim's personal hate for it. Just move that out of the way. But I don't know if it's hate, but just like, I don't want to hear it again. It was recorded in it was March 28th, 1967 in New York. It was released in June of the same year. It became Van Morrison's first #1 top hit. It remains, I guess his signature song. He has a few other songs that you probably know, but that generally is. It was originally titled Brown Skin Girl. The name was changed to Brown Eyed Girl for wider radio appeal at the time in the 60s.
Yeah, I think that was a good decision. I mean, calling it that would be a product of the times, but certainly you shouldn't call it that. And certainly it wouldn't have had the timeless appeal that it has now had it been called that.
I also think about like the content of the song, and it could have really went weird if that had been you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I just don't think of it. He did say due to an unfavorable contract. Did you know he's never received any royalties from that song, Tim?
I didn't know that, but also I know that Van Morrison is reasonably unpleasant in real life, so I don't know what business went down at the time.
I mean, fair enough. I'd heard that he's not a nice person. I mean, he does share my last name, so I mean that I don't know what that means to the world, but he does not have great accolades from people who've worked with him. It does have I do know why this song is so resonant and why it works in every band. One, it's pretty easy to play, Tim. It's not a hard song to play. There's no complex structure to it. Two, it has a nice, really soulful, almost meets that kind of Motown sound, but it fits in the pop world.
Mm-hmm.
So I know why the rich kind of velvety texture to it transcends from the UK to here, and why you played it every band. It gets people dancing. It sounds great. It's not hard to play. And there is something about it that's fun. It makes complete sense. And apparently the original, when he was singing about brown skin girl, I don't like to say that, but when it was supposed to be about a hidden, forbidden romance. That's what he was going for in the 60s due to skin tone. So that's where it originally came from. But yeah, I mean, I love this song. I grew up on this song. My parents kind of really like that kind of 60s almost meets Motown sound kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So it makes sense that we'd hear this all the time. Yeah. So the next one, though, is one that Tim's very familiar with. This is The Who, and it's Behind Blue Eyes.
Yeah, Behind Blue Eyes from the album Who's Next, as covered famously by Limp Bizkit. Now, that version is awful.
There was another version, too. Wasn't there another band in the early 2000s who did it as well, Tim, or was it? Hold on.
Very possibly. I mean, the Limp Bizkit version is not good. I remember when it came out. I think it's on the chocolate starfish and the hot dog flavored water, I think, which again is an awful album.
I don't ever want to hear anyone ever say that again. Limp Bizkit, hold on. Turning Loose. Yeah, apparently it's been done two or three times by different people for various movie soundtracks. I remember hearing a woman sing it once. Not, to be completely transparent with you, the Who's version was the best version. None of them were out that great.
It is. I mean, many people will tell you that Who's Next is the greatest rock album of all time. Mm-hmm. I mean, it is. Every track on that is absolutely superb. I mean, that's the album with Bubba O'Reilly on it. Won't Get Fooled Again. My Wife. I mean, Going Mobile. It's all on there. Great album, and that track's on there. I do feel at this point that song is a little bit overplayed.
Yeah, for sure.
Certainly, it would be an occasional skip if it came up on a premium shuffle.
I'm skipping it.
Yeah, occasionally. If I'm in the mood, I'll have it, but it's an occasional skip.
I'm going to tell you right now, I'd probably skip it. The thing about it is, though, is there's only so many songs about eyes. So my topics are limited. But with that being said, it originated after a 1970 Denver concert. Townsend said he was resisting a groupie's advantage, penning the lyrics with my fist clenches, which later became part of the song.
There we are.
So there you go. If you ever wondered what Behind Blue Eyes is, it's about a groupie. You ever hear these like really amazing? Because that song has such a it starts so soft and acoustic, and you got this powerful like intenseness to it, right, Tim? And then you're like, it's got to be something. And they're like, nah, it's about a groupie.
Well, I mean, Pete Townsend, for all of his faults, is a musical, lyrical songwriting genius.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And if you pull up on YouTube any of the Who demos of Who songs where he's playing all the instruments on them, it's basically the finished song, apart from it just sounds a little bit different because he's playing it and the Who's not playing it. But it's so interesting that he has this vision for these songs and he takes inspiration from all these different things.
Yeah, he did say later. So that was that lyric came from the concert, but he did say later it was an ambitious lifehouse project. The song was also inspired by spiritual questioning and awakening. So it wasn't 100%, but that lyric came specifically from a 1970s concert.
Yeah, the Who's Next was supposed to be a concept album rock opera called Lifehouse, and it was abandoned, and then it was turned into Who's Next.
Yes, look at Tim knowing all the facts. So while it was about a groupie, there's a bigger complex scenario here. All right. So the next one is one that I'm familiar with. And this artist sticks out to me because I have very specific. I went down a rabbit hole where I was very obsessed with this artist for a while, which would probably not surprise anyone. But this is Eyes Without a Face by Billy Idol. Yes. Are you familiar with this song, Tim?
This is a great song. This is a song I'm very familiar with. And it was a song that Billy Idol performed at his famous concert that he did at the Hoover Dam. Because as we all know, you heard from one of our previous episodes in my review of the concert, Billy Idol loves the Hoover Dam, almost to an Alan Partridge level. It's really bizarre. But he performed Eyes Without a Face at that concert. And this is probably one of my favorite Billy Idol songs because it starts off sort of ballady and it's got like a rocky bit in the middle. Steve Stevens is playing some amazing guitar parts on there. And it's just a great song. And I would put that on over White Wedding or any of those songs.
It would depend on my mood. But to be fair with you, some of the other ones I think are a little overdone. So I see where you're coming from. So for those who don't know, this is the second single from Rebel Yell, which is pretty much the debut album that everybody knows if they're talking about Billy Idol. It was number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100. It was his first U.S. top 10 hit. And Billy Idol was one of those people that was very popular in the UK, of course, before he became popular in America, so on and so forth. And he transcended a lot of like the early MTV kind of realm with his videos and stuff. But he referred to this song as an anti-love song and even described it metaphorically as a song about murder. I don't know that I thought that, Tim. But it was apparently, and me and Tim would never know this, but did you know that the name of it is a nod to a 1960s horror film called Eyes Without a Face?
I did not know that.
I did not know that either. So that is why it is a reference to that.
I'm not, as we know, I'm not a film aficionado. I know nothing about films and their history, so I just would have not got that at all.
I would have never known till I did this Googling. But it makes sense. I mean, when you hear it, like, it sounds like a name for a horror movie. Eyes without a face.
Yeah, Boris Karloff presents Eyes Without a Face.
But then it gets even weirder, and this is where we go into the eye thing, Tim. So I did find this on Reddit, so take it with a grain of salt. This may be anecdotal at best. But they're saying during filming this, with pyrotechnics filming the video, Idol's contact lens fused to his cornea, and he was in the hospital.
Well, would you look at that? I mean, your
circle.
brother and sister in corneal injuries.
I don't know. Your eye, I mean, I'll take the scratch over my contact lenses fizz. Like, I guess they had to melt into his eye because of the pyrotechnics, Tim?
No, if I had to guess, like an ember touched it and it probably made it shrink a bit and grows on his eye and they had to have it taken out.
I just don't want to do that.
No, and
I don't know. I might take the scratch first.
And I can never, ever, ever wear contact lenses again. I used to wear one in one eye years ago because I only really had prescription in one eye.
Yeah.
And I tried them again 2 or 3 years ago. I couldn't get the thing in. I couldn't get the thing out. I smudged it in my eyes like, no. I got Hannah to take it out in the end and I threw the pack in the rubbish and I said, that's it. I'm never doing this again.
I absolutely never tried. Like, not once. Because I don't have, like, Tim, my eyes, even whenever with the scratch cornea, because I just do an eye exam while I was there, you know, I don't have, like, super bad vision. I can't see far distances. But, like, it's like 20/30, 20/40 in one eye. Like, I have the right eyesight that you could totally wear contacts, but I just know they're not for me. No. First of all, I feel like I would neglect them and end up, like with gross, you know what I mean? Whatever. Second of all, I feel like it just seems like a lot of work. I'd just rather wear the glasses. I really would.
Yeah, I will never, ever wear contacts ever again.
I'm good. So with that being said, on to our next eye-rific, or whatever you want to call it. Another band we've talked about many times on this podcast. This is Callin Oates, Private Eyes.
Yay!
Once again, there's only so many songs about eyes. So for those who don't know, this is from the album of the same name. It was it was one of the numbers. Oh my God, I can't say words. It was one of 6 #1 hits for the duo. It was the Billboard Top 100 for 2 weeks. It was #1 for 2 weeks. I guess it's a record in November of 1981. I don't know why it was so hard for me to say one of 6. So apparently there was a long-standing legal dispute over royalties and rights for this song. Of course there was, Tim.
Yeah, obviously.
Because I'm sure Daryl Hall was behind that because he's a super villain. But apparently there is an ongoing poll about what song encapsulates the 80s perfectly, and this was #1.
I could believe that. It's a classic song that really is all those greatest 80s album in the world ever will have Private Eyes on it. There is a great bit in the video where John Oates, it goes, Private Eyes, you're watching you. And then he gets out a big magnifying glass at that point. And I made a GIF of it a while ago because I loved it so much. I made a GIF of it. That's
amazing. Plus, me and Tim are Team Oates, not Hall on this podcast. We haven't figured it out. Long live John Oates.
I will say one thing, though, Joy. We haven't done this for a while, but I think we need to test whether Callin Oates still works.
All right, do it, Tim.
At this juncture. So I've brought up the old NPR article that talks about it, which is from 2021. And let's open up the dialer here. And for those who want to call in the United States, it's 719 266
8675309.
No. 719-266-2837. Okay. Speaker.
Welcome to Callin Oates, your emergency Callin Oates helpline. To hear one-on-one, please press 1. To hear it go, please press 2. To hear man-eater, please press 3. To hear private eyes, please press 4.
Oh, isn't this beautiful?
Amazing.
There you
And
go.
we
It
did all
still
that.
works, Joy. It still works.
Has it always had that many songs? I don't remember having that many options.
It's always been the same since it came out.
Who's sponsoring this? Where's the money coming from?
Well, if you go to the NPR article, it was a developer who was setting up a demonstration thing about some kind of auto attend system for a phone system. So he set it up saying, "Oh, this is what my company can do. You know, we can do the voice prompt, we can do the press one for this, to press two for that." And then I think he probably handed the number out to a few people, you know, trade shows or something. So yeah, this is. And at the time, it was probably a new thing that you could do. Play a piece of music or play some audio on demand, and then it just went, as they say, viral, and it's still out there.
I mean, fair enough. Fair enough. We appreciate the effort that has went into making that a thing, and we hope it never goes away.
Well, sometimes it's handy. I mean, you're out somewhere and you might need to hear Maneater. I mean, it happens.
It is true. I always think about there was like the default ringtone everybody knows, and I'm like scrolling, and one day I found that the IT department. What song was it, Tim? It was Pink Floyd, right?
Yeah.
And I put it on my phone, and I never said anything to anyone. And nobody really knew why I was the only person who had Pink Floyd on my phone. And Tim walks in the department. He was like, "Joy, that's not supposed to be there." And I was like, "I found it." And he was like, "Okay, we got to delete it."
Yeah, we had a lot of custom ringtones at one point. Then Cisco changed their phone system, and you couldn't do that anymore. However, if you know what you're doing, you can change the background to your phone. And I have the opening from Knight Rider, the car running through the desert, and in the Knight Rider font, instead of saying Knight Rider, it says my name.
It was just really funny though, because I remember Tim and I think our executive director were in my office, and out of there it was like, "Hello, is there anybody out there?" Like loud in the middle of the office. And Tim looks at me and was like, "Okay, well, we were supposed to delete that. Apparently we didn't." And I remember our executive director looked at me at the time and just started laughing.
Doing some testing, IT department testing, you know.
I mean, you have to do it. Like, why wouldn't you? But the problem is that Joy was nosy enough to find the test. Anyway, the next one is another artist that we've talked about pretty heavily on this podcast. Tim could probably have wrote this episode with his eyes closed. Get it, everybody? Did it. All right, anyway. I'll be here all week. Because I live in this house. With that being said, it's Lionized Eagle.
Yeah, the Eagles. Of course, we can't say the Eagles. It's just Eagles. Now, I feel that our podcast, Don Henley may shut this podcast down for my little slip there. This may be the last episode, ladies and gentlemen.
If not, it's going to be Joy calling Daryl Hall a supervillain. One of the two took us out. Me and Tim have been sued. There's no more No Name Music Cast. All right, so for those who don't know, this song was released in 1975. The song reached number 2 on the pop charts and number 8 on the country charts, which I find kind of interesting. I don't really find it to be a country. Were Eagles country artists at one point, Tim?
Yeah, they are considered country pop artists, very, very much so. Now,
Really?
their sound got a little heavier and harder as the years went on, especially with the addition of Joe Walsh to the band. But
Yeah.
certainly the first couple of albums of Eagles is very countrified, and they sort of have that country flair all the way through. Now, it's not the sort of bro country where it's like a bad 80s rock with a fiddle in it, but I mean, there are songs with banjos, there are songs with mandolins.
But to be fair, in the 80s, I feel like there were other bands that were doing similar things that are 70s and 80s, right? That I don't think I necessarily would associate with country, but maybe it's just because I wasn't alive during that time, so I wasn't sure where it was resonating. Because in my mind, I find them to be a pop band. Kind of meets a rock band, but I guess you're probably right. I guess they could fall under a folky kind of country sound, too.
Yeah, Poco was another band that was around that time that was very similar to Eagles.
There you go, guys. I mean, I didn't call Don Henley and ask, so maybe I should have.
Well, he will probably charge you, and then he'll probably have certain parts of this podcast redacted because we can't say Eagles without a license or something.
Well, for those who don't know, this song earned Eagles a Grammy for Best Pop Vocal Performance. This was written by Don Henley and Glenn Frey. It portrays the story of infidelity. Who could have guessed that, Tim?
There we are. I mean, you know, young men on the road. I mean, rock and roll.
I mean, I will say, now I have a mix in my brain though, and I can't get it out of Lion Eyes and Private Eyes. I just made like a mashup of them in my brain, and I can't not hear both of them together after doing this episode.
I wonder if someone has made a mashup. Look, let's have a look.
You really could, right? It feels like it fits.
Private Eyes mashup. Private Eye. There's a Fleetwood Mac one. No, sadly
I'm
not.
Do that mashup.
There's Private Eyes and When Doves Cry mashed up together.
I mean, I don't know. I keep hearing that Private Eyes, and then they go into like Lying Eyes in my brain, and they're not the same. But that's what my brain's doing at the moment. I'm not even sure that they're that similar, but for some reason, after hearing them together, I mean, obviously, this song is a woman lies to her husband and plans to come back forever, but clearly they're not going to.
No.
All right. So this is another one that kind of plays into what we've been talking about. This is called These Eyes, the Guess Who from 1969.
Yeah, not a band I'm super familiar with, the Guess Who. I have heard this song before, but they do have a big fan base of people who love the Guess Who.
So I will say I'm not super familiar with them. I've definitely heard this song and like maybe 2 or 3 other songs. I generally kind of think of them as like 2-hit wonders, if I'm being completely transparent. Now, they do have, so this was featured on their Wheatfield Soul album. Randy Bachman and Burt Cummings wrote it, but apparently they're considered a Canadian supergroup, which I thought was interesting. Are they from Canada? I don't know.
Yeah, people speak about them and they speak about the Tragically Hip, but probably more the Tragically Hip, to be honest. And then you got Rush. But yeah, they are very much a Canadian thing and a Canadian supergroup.
Well, that makes sense because the next thing says that the inspiration from this song came from a coffee house scene in Regina, that word, the one in Canada, Saskatchewan, whatever that city is.
Saskatchewan.
Yes.
No, Saskatchewan.
Yes, what Tim said, where 2 sisters captivated Bachman's attention.
There we are.
But I do think this song is pretty popular. I mean, even if you don't know who the Guess Who is, it sounds weird to say Guess Who. And when I say Guess Who, this is such a weirdly 90s cliche. I don't even know if Tip's going to get this reference, but there was a cartoon. There was a commercial where you played this game. It was called like Guess Who. It was like, Guess Who is the name of No. That's what I think of. And it was like this little game where you had different pictures. Like,
and you flip them down.
Yes.
Yes. It was probably called something different in England, but yes, I know.
You know what I'm talking about. And then they did like different, I don't know if they did this in the UK, but they did this in America where they, like you had like different versions for like TV shows and stuff. Like they really took it next level, but that was all over. It was very hip in the 90s to be playing that game, Tim. I don't know if that's just an American thing.
The thing is, I didn't have any brothers or sisters, so rarely did I play board games.
Were not happening
because it's not much fun to play both parts yourself.
I mean, you make a really valid point, Tim, and that makes me very sad. I hadn't really thought about that. All right. Well, this is another band that me and Tim love that we've talked about extensively on this podcast. It's ABBA, Angel Eyes.
Yes. I don't know if this one was a single, but a great ABBA song. The same. It has a very strong chorus. Angel Eyes. I'm doing it a disservice, of course. And classic Swedish power pop. You know, ABBA at their full power of their power pop strength. And I mean, you just can't go wrong with the songwriting genius of Benny and Bjorn. You know, they're in Polar Studios. They're recording their music. They have a Swedish krona printing press in the basement. They're cranking out money as quick as they can. It's fantastic.
I'm starting to realize that all these songs about eyes are about cheating. The more I keep saying. Or just being creepy. It's either someone's watching you or you're cheating. It could be both. I don't know. But for those who don't know, I don't think it was a single because this was on Voulez-Vous in 1979, which is one of their, premier studio albums. Tim's right. It was written by Benny and Bjorn. And the lead vocals are, of course, Agatha and Annifred. And of course, the lyrics warn you about the deceptive nature of a charming person's grace,
Ah,
urging vigilance. Um, it was recorded on November 4th, 1978, and was released, as we just said, on Voulez-Vous, and it reached number 3 in the UK. I don't know where it reached in America. I will say, I don't think this song was super popular here. It's a song that if you like ABBA, you've definitely heard, Tim, but I don't know that it was being played on the radio in the 70s. I could be wrong.
I don't know. I was 4 years old. I don't remember. My first memory is from about 5 onwards, so I really don't know.
You know, I think about this and I try to, you know what my first, like the first memory I have is a very weirdly distinct memory from when I was in kindergarten in America, which was about 5. So Tim's right. My first memory is probably about 5 years old. And I remember it was because I was getting on the school bus and they had told me summer was happening. Oh my God, we get to go home for summer, right? I was very excited. I remember being like, bye, see you later, thinking I was never going to have to go back to elementary school again. Guess what I had to do, Tim?
You had to go back to school.
But as a 5-year-old, I thought that I was going to remember. I thought for sure that that was the end of it. I was literally school's out for summer. That's what I remember. Tim, what is your first memory? Now I'm curious. If it's appropriate, of course. I don't know
Yeah,
what a
my
5-year-old
first
knows.
memory is sitting in the kitchen in the flat that we used to live above a shop in Hounslow. And that flat had 2 sides to the flat. We lived on both sides. One side was smaller than the other, and then the other people moved out, and we moved to the other side. But anyhow, it's irrelevant. The first side that we lived in, I remember sitting in the kitchen with my mum and dad, and my dad being in the TV trade had a radio which had police band on it. And I think someone either lent it to him or it came in as a trade-in or something like that. So he'd been
Gotcha.
playing around with this thing. And there was a car chase going on somewhere locally. And my dad had this police band radio, and he and my mum were both listening to this car chase going on, and like the police going backwards and forwards on the police radio. And I remember them in the kitchen enjoying this, and that's the first thing I remember.
We have very different first memories. It's weird though that's what stuck out to you, Tim. Do you ever think about this? Like the weird memories that you remember from childhood? I will say, I wish I had, maybe I just don't have a great memory, but like, I feel like up until about 8 years old, my memory is pretty fuzzy.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think so.
5, 6, 7, 8. It's pretty there, to be honest.
I remember bits and pieces, but I don't know that I remember it or if I've just been told the stories.
It certainly helps because I managed to get all of my mum and dad's pictures long ago.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I don't have the ones like my mum has of her family before she was married, and my dad's had some pictures as well. But like the ones that were taken as a family growing up, my mum I think was going to throw them out. I was like, no, and I scanned them all in.
I mean, that's fair. I think some of it's like pictures like reinforce it for me. Like there's different memories. Like my first birthday that was at a Pizza Hut. I have distinct memories of that. And so when I was a senior in high school, which is the last year that, you go to high school in America. So I was about 17, 18 years old. I had to do a memory book. And so I was doing different years and it was like a scrapbook of sorts. And I remember one of the pictures was like my first picture was like me. And Tim has, if you guys are watching this, which you're not watching this because this is an audio podcast, Tim drinks out of the old Pizza Hut glass a lot.
Cheers.
The red Pizza Hut glass. And those are sitting in front of us because my first birthday was in the very old school American Pizza Hut. When I was 6 years old. That's the first birthday I remember. And I just remember me and Brady sitting there and then all of our friends and there's like little, our little gifts sitting in front of us and those glasses are there. So with Tim's drinking out of his Pizza Hut glass, that's what stands out to me.
Yeah, I would say if you want these Pizza Hut cups, not that you can see them because this is an audio podcast, of course, they are available on Amazon and everyone in the comments is like, these are just like the ones we had at Pizza Hut. So we bought them. They weren't expensive. We have 2 sizes. We have the small ones and the large ones. This is the small one. Cheers.
Tim, you might have to take this segment and we'll put it on our YouTube of Tim explaining how to get a Pizza Hut glass. Put it on Instagram too. But yeah, every time I see that, that's like one of the very first ones I remember. But anyway, and you know what, Tim? You have to use your eyes to see these photos.
There we are, Joy. Everything comes together so tidily.
Well, that's the thing though about hurting your eye if nobody realizes this. I was telling Tim about this. I've never really, injured myself in my eye before, so I guess I hadn't really given it any thought. If you hurt your ankle or you hurt your arm, you can kind of rest it, right? Mm-hmm. But your eyeball never stops working. Like, even unless you're asleep. So I just slept for 15 hours.
Yeah, I mean, there is a point where you're just waking up where your eyes have not connected yet.
And that was almost worse because the light coming through the window. So one thing that happens, I guess, is like your eye becomes super sensitive to light with any injury. Mm-hmm. And guess what I do for a living? Stare at a computer.
Yeah, I could see you with some kind of smart eye patch, trying to be like Madonna in a TV interview.
I put a sticky note over my eye, but it didn't really help.
No, you should have gone to the Seavus and got yourself a proper eye patch.
Well, they told me that actually is counterproductive because when we were at the ER, so facts, everybody. In this case, there's two reasons why they don't give you an eye patch. In this specific case, there is something they can, like, if you go to the actual, like, eye doctor, they can put in your eye that's like a contact that's like an eye patch. But they don't recommend eye patches for two reasons. One, I guess your eye, like, you can cause problems with it being able to focus if you wear it for too long. Mm-hmm. But two, they're worried about eye patches can promote like moisture and growth. And the number one issue and the reason I have to take these fancy eye drops that no one once again can see because this is an audio podcast in my eye is because the number one complication of an eye injury is what? Infection.
There we are. Well, I worry about Madonna, I mean, she often goes around with this eye patch on her eyes. Does she have some kind of infection? Does she have conjunctivitis? I mean, these are things that need to be discussed.
There's a lot that needs to be unpacked about a Madonna, and I think that the eye patch is on the small scale. I mean, every time I see a picture of her, Tim, it doesn't look like Madonna. I don't know what it looks like, but it doesn't look like Madonna.
No, I mean, if she's happy, I'm happy, but I would not do that to myself.
Yeah, the thing is, it's not even just her looks. It just feels like, from what I gathered, is she doesn't really have a great reputation to her fans.
No, as I said, she's all this shenanigans about her showing up late to gigs, and it's just, What you done, Madonna? You was a legend.
Well, with that being said, we'll get off the Madonna. She's not on my list because she didn't have any songs about eyes that I'm aware of. This person is one this is a song Tim knows. It is used for a movie that Tim would actually know this time. This is Sheena Easton's For Your Eyes Only, Tim.
Oh, a James Bond film, and also a Roger Moore era James Bond film. Now, of course, Sheena Easton was an 80s pop singer of note. Mm-hmm. And famously appears in Miami Vice. There's a whole story arc with Sheena Easton, who I think is actually married to Sonny Crockett, Don Johnson. And it's like a 4 or 5 episode story arc. And then I think in the end she gets murdered, if I remember correctly.
So what's the story? What is she doing?
Well, she's a pop singer in it.
Oh,
and then I think Sonny Crockett is hired to protect her for some reason because drug runners are after her or some nonsense. And then, of course, he falls in love with her and then he gets married to her. And then he's torn because he's always out fighting crime and she's always out on tour. And then there's someone's out for Sonny and then he's with her and then she gets shot and it's a whole thing.
I mean, that all seems to check out. That seems pretty on brand. So, for those who don't know, it's the 12th James Bond film called For Your Eyes Only, in case anyone didn't know that. Came out in 1981. I specifically picked this because it's Tim's favorite Bond era. It was released as a single on June 15th, 1981, reached number 4 on the U.S. Billboard and number 8 in the U.K., was nominated for an Academy Award and a Golden Globe. Easton is the only Bond-themed singer to appear performing on screen during the opening credits.
Yes, I was about to tell you that. Unique. Out of the entirety of all the Bond films, she's the only one who actually appears in the opening titles. Now, the opening titles typically are like black with white text, and then you have certainly a product of the times. They probably don't do this anymore, but there's like women in bikinis or less in silhouette dancing and
It's
doing
very
stuff.
60s go-go type
Yeah,
thing.
even up to the 80s, and I think even to the 90s they were doing that. I mean, I haven't seen any contemporary James Bond films, so I don't know if they still do it, but certainly something from the past that's probably best off left in the past. But anyhow, it's a statement of the time and it's a piece of art that's been made, so that's what they did.
Yes, it's very for those who know what like a Fosse dancer is, it was very Fosse, very 60s go-go. But I do think it is iconic in this is that you know exactly what we're talking about. I think everybody can visualize it. Even if you haven't seen a James Bond film, Tim, I think you've seen that reference even in other media.
Yeah,
So.
and also I would recommend you go on YouTube and then you find the Alan Partridge version of that, of The Spy Who Loved Me. Now, Alan Partridge is narrating The Spy Who Loved Me's opening titles, and what they've done is they've put the actual opening titles over the top. It is absolutely hilarious.
Amazing. All right. Well, with that being said, we will leave it at this. The soundtrack was scored by Billy Compton. I don't know how to say Conti, I guess his name, was released on vinyl and cassette by Liberty Records in 1981, and then it was actually reissued as a CD with a bonus track in the early 2000s.
Yeah, because I know that CD reissue of
I knew that's why I led you into this.
Yeah.
Because I was like, Tim's going to know.
The CD reissue of which you speak of, they reissued all of the Bond soundtracks. The only one I own, of course, is Moonraker, because Moonraker is the greatest film ever made. And I do own a vinyl copy of the Moonraker soundtrack, which is an original pressing from when it came out. But I have this early 2000 CD reissue, and it's fair to say the song on that, Flight into Space, is an amazing piece of music.
Fair enough. For those who've not listened to this podcast long enough, knew that Joy made sure to put the physical media comment there to lead Tim into that. I knew he would enjoy that. All right. So this is funny because every time I hear this song or every time I see this artist's name, Tim, I think of South Park. I think of Eric Cartman. But it is not Eric Cartman. It's Eric Cardman. And the song is Hungry Eyes.
Hungry Eyes, yeah. Another 80s classic. I'm sure if you put 80s on 8 on Sirius Radio that probably nobody subscribes to anymore, every third song would be Hungry Eyes.
Well, I always think about this song. So for those who don't know, it was released in 1987 on the Dirty Dancing soundtrack. It was first chart entry in the U.S. at number 88, which is interesting because it never went past 88, but I think it's become a cult classic because of the movie Dirty Dancing.
Yeah, I think
that's where I associate it to.
And of course, I know you featured in the film Dirty Dancing, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah, because I know you was all about Mountain Lake. I know you spent a lot of time there or something.
Yes, obviously, Tim. But what I was going to say is, did you ever watch the movie Dirty Dancing, though?
I don't think I've ever seen it.
I feel like we need to make Tim watch this, guys, out of just pure because the soundtrack is so good. The whole movie's about music, Tim. The whole movie's about music.
I have a copy of the soundtrack on CD. I bought in a thrift shop for
$1. I'm gonna call you. And the other thing is, yes, obviously, I hang out at Mountain Lake all the time, but also because we live. Tim, you've been to Mountain Lake probably more than I have. Don't you performed there a few times, right?
Yeah, well, that's Smith Mountain Lake, not Mountain Lake.
But that's where it was recorded, though, right?
Well,
you've never played at the actual Mountain Lake?
No, Dirty Dancing was filmed at Mountain Lake, which is like Giles County and on a bit.
Oh, Tim plays at Smith Mountain Lake.
Smith Mountain Lake, which is Franklin County, which is the other side of Roanoke.
So you've never played at the Pembroke one? Okay, no. Fine. Well, Tim, then I guess I have been there more than you.
Yeah, you have. That's why I said you was effectively in the film.
I interviewed for a job there once.
Yeah.
Didn't get the job. But that's my question is, I can't believe, has Hannah watched Dirty Dancing?
Oh, absolutely.
I feel like we need to get her to force you to watch it, just out of I want to get your analysis on, because I'm going to tell you right now, Tim, you're going to be, so there's two things about this movie as an adult, because Tim's never going to watch it. I'm just mostly giving him, mostly just making fun of him. When you watch it as an adult, you realize that the bad person in the movie is Patrick Swayze. So in this movie, for those who've never seen it, the spoiler for no one besides Tim O'Sullivan, you have a character. They're going to this. So Mountain Lake Lodge is right up from me. It's about 40 and Tim, like 45 minutes, right? 10, 40 minutes. It's very close to us. That's where it was filmed. It used to have a big lake. That lake is dried up now. The lake's not there. But that does play into the film. Like the lake is there. But it's this very nice kind of like there's a main like cabin and then there's sub cabins and it played really into the aesthetic of the movie and they're running all over. And in the movie though, she says she was a senior in high school and all she wanted to do was be part of the Peace Corps. So she had to be like 17 years old, Tim.
Mm-hmm.
Now, mind you, Patrick Swayze's character was like a grown man in his 30s. Let's start right there.
Yeah, that's dodgy.
Yeah. And he was on the wrong side of the tracks kind of guy, which, we don't make judgments here, whatever. But in her parents' defense and in her dad's defense, not only did her dad have to do a surgery on someone that we won't say, but you can use your brain to figure out what happened. It's not a surgery that you want to do. Oh, well, she didn't do it. He just had to come in and help after the fact. And then that's the only thing his father knows about these people, Tim. And then her 17-year-old daughter is hanging out with this 30-year-old man in a cabin. And we're supposed to believe this is super romantic.
No, I mean, if she's 17 and he's 19 or something, but like a grown man in his 30s.
He is a grown man who'd been working at this cabin. I think he says in the movie he's been doing this for like 10 years or something. And I'm like, that means he has to be maybe he's like 25, but even then that's still iffy.
Yeah.
It's still really iffy. And teaching his daughter to dirty dance and then well, you guys.
This man sounds like Rolf Harris or something. It's terrible.
It sounds super. It's one of those things that, like, looking back, Tim, like you were saying, didn't age well. When you really look at it from an adult perspective, from an adult lens, it didn't age well at all. Like, not even slightly. And it's so funny because in the end of the movie, that famous line, nobody puts baby in a quarter, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, the guy comes up and grabs her, and then the dad tries to stop him. And the mom's like, no, let him do it so they could do the final dance number for the event. And I'm sitting there going, and realistically, the dad was the only one who makes any sense. Someone should have been telling this man no. It's not a great movie when you look at it from an adult perspective. Like, if I had a child who was 17 and this 35-year-old man on our summer vacation was whining and dining her, I would be like, no, too.
This sounds terrible.
It really is. I need you to ask Hannah's perspective on it as an adult. So you said you've seen this movie. And she will probably say the same thing I'm saying. It's not a great movie. It just isn't. Anyway, so that is not the song though. The soundtrack's great. It's a great soundtrack.
Yeah, I have seen Pretty Woman from the same era, if that counts for anything.
Another movie that's not aged very well. Yeah, I want to know, how old was his age? Okay, we're gonna look this up. Dirty Dancing. How old were they? How old was Baby? Okay. Baby was 17. I was right. So she goes by Baby, Tim. So we'll start right there. And then how old was Johnny? Okay, he was 25.
Even still.
That's what I said. 25 is aging. I mean, 17
I mean,
and 25
if you're 30 and the other one's 35, it's irrelevant. But someone who's 17 is a little kid.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, when I Googled it, the top thing is from Reddit. And it's like, when I was younger, I was a fan of Dirty Dancing. Jennifer Grey was beautiful, classy, da-da-da-da-da. Now that I'm 31, I'm seeing the controversy in the film. Dirty Dancing starts off with a doctor taking his wife and two daughters to Catskills for a summer retreat. The good doctor falls in love with a dancer and moves a crowd. Yeah, it's not... Baby 17, Johnny's 25.
Yeah, that's wrong.
Anyway, so there you go, guys. If you've ever loved Dirty Dancing and didn't pick up on that, I'm glad I could ruin it for you.
Well, I tell you what, Joy. After that film ruinage, do you have one more song?
Yes, that sounds so weird to say. Do one more song about eyes, Joy. All right, let me pick which one I want to do. All right. All right, let's go with this one. This is Sad Eyes by Robert John. Are you familiar with the song from the 70s, Tim?
I don't think I am.
I think you are. I just don't think you know you are. Let's go through the lyrics.
Okay.
I didn't think I was either until I heard it. And then I was like, I am familiar with this song. I think he was a one-hit wonder. So the chorus goes, so it's a funk song. Sad eyes turn the other way. I don't want to see you cry. Sad eyes, you knew there would be a day when you couldn't say goodbye.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, you have. That's what I said too, because I was like, I don't know this song. So it came out in 1979. It was on a self-titled album. I would say this guy is generally a one-hit wonder. I don't know. I mean, his name is Robert John. That's a pretty generic name.
Pretty much.
I mean, anybody is Robert John. But anyway, so it topped in the top 100 hits, interrupting a famous song we know of, My Sharona. So it peaked at number 10, overpassing My Sharona. And then in the UK, it was number 31. In Australia, it was number 9. And in Canada, it was number 2. It does kind of have like this soft kind of doo-wop feel. And it was a standout kind of funk meets disco. But it was once again about a song where someone did someone wrong. Apparently, all songs and eyes related things are about someone doing someone wrong, Tim.
This is what we've learned this evening, Joy.
Yeah, because there was not one song on this list that had anything good about eyes. Maybe Brown Eyed Girl, but even then, the original sounds a little sus.
Yeah, the original was not good.
So with that, and the sudden realization that if you write a song about eyes, it might not be great, what would you like to leave the people with?
Just be kind to everyone that you meet, and if you look them in the eye, have good intentions.
Fair enough. Also, don't stick things in your eyes. Bye!
Bye-bye!
To remind me of another day to come.